Hello and a very warm welcome to the Big Bright podcast. My name's Emma and today I'm welcoming back brand manager Vic. It's been 6 months since we recorded our podcast shortly after lockdown, discussing our plans for keeping the company culture alive and well when the Bright office was suddenly thrust into remote working. As with many other companies, we've changed and adapted as the weeks have gone on and also encountered plenty of challenges along the way. With this in mind, we thought it would be a great idea to check in with Vic to see just how things have changed for the team and whether the plans that were put in place had a positive impact on the office culture. Welcome back, Vic.
Well, hello.
Welcome back to our comfy chairs, which we feel are getting smaller.
Much smaller. I've definitely expanded.
Have we got lockdown bum?
I think so, because I'm sure they weren't this size before. Everyone went. Something's happened.
Someone came in and changed the chairs.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't feel like I can blame the chairs. I think it's just me. But maybe we should blame the chairs.
I've been eating a lot of bread.
Yeah, me too.
Well,
anyway.
So I hear you are now the unofficial COVID coordinator.
Yes.
Are you official? Is this unofficial?
It's unofficial. I'd like a sash. I sort of requested one, didn't get one. A little bit upset about that, to be honest. Possibly the last thing I wanted to be, if I'm honest, because I can't stand any of this is going on like everybody else, but I really hate talking about it. So when we were sort of talking about getting people back to the office, and obviously I've been working in the office on my own, it was quite important, I suppose, to get me involved because, you know,
the only one here?
I'm the only one here. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I am the unofficial, I'm going to say the COVID enforcer, because I think that sounds quite good. It's been quite weird getting involved with it, but I'm actually really pleased I have because from a practical sense, I've been able to help people feel possibly a bit more reassured as well from an emotional sense. But
yeah, it kind of fits in with your job role anyway in terms of keeping the brand and the culture, you know, alive and happy. And obviously this is a major thing that's affected people, I suppose.
Basically, employee sort of satisfaction and well-being is a huge part of employer branding. So, it's not all the stuff that people see on the website and the job ads and, you know, social media and all that sort of stuff. A lot of it is about what goes on behind closed doors. So making sure that people were feeling comfortable about the idea of coming back, safe. That was a really important thing. We need to make sure people feel safe. And if they don't, they won't want to come back. So we put quite a few steps in place, I think, just to try and make that happen. So we did a couple of things, actually. We got an external risk assessor to come in. He was great. He was really helpful, actually. So he came in, he was brilliant. And so he gave us a really practical, just look at what was going on, made a load of recommendations about what we could do to safely reboard people back into the office. And that was stuff from, you know, seating, I suppose, sort of a cleanliness hygiene regimes, signage, all those sorts of things that we needed to consider. And so I was quite a key part of that, and I made sure that I filled in a very extensive questionnaire with him to talk about all the things that we needed to cover, and I fed that back to our business operations team who are still working from home. So, I mean, it was a good thing, and I also got involved with all the signage, so we made sure that we put lots of nice signs around. I can say everyone loves a sign. They don't, because people, you put them up and then...
a good sign.
Well, you put them up and then you think everyone's going to read them and then they've just forgotten. And I've got them on the dishwashers and it says, please don't use a dishwasher. Everyone always opens it. It doesn't matter. But we had lovely signs made that were reflective of the brand so people didn't feel like they were coming into a sort of COVID situation. You know, being at work, you should feel safe. And I didn't want to throw it down people's throats.
Lots of people have got these kind of black and white sort of do not cross this line, like awful. Emergency signs.
Hazmat. Do you know what I mean? It's like a hazmat situation in here. We should feel, you know, you should be sort of spaced out, socially distanced enough to feel that you're comfortable in your workspace. And it was important to get people back, not everybody, but for people that were not suffering, but, you know, were conscious of their mental health. It was affecting them negatively, maybe not being around other people a lot.
And not everyone's set up to work from home comfortably. No. Not everyone's got their own room or, you know, the space to do that without, you know, kids or pets or something jumping on them at some point.
Exactly. From that sort of productivity level as well. Most people have been amazing. Actually, everyone in the company's been amazing, actually, in terms of dealing with this. But yeah, exactly. I think from productivity and a mental health standpoint, it was important to at least put a date in place where people knew things had been done, steps had been put in place for them to come back and it would be okay. And so far, we've had a few people in, which has been great. Not huge amounts. I think the risk assessment guy was like, you can have loads of people in here, but I think it's a standard thing, isn't it? People just sort of wait to see
and also,
how it's going to be.
Over the last 3 months, the rulings have changed slightly. So it's gone from like go back to work to don't go back to work.
The flip-flop.
The flip-flop. So I guess people are maybe just conscious of that, but it's good that you've got the option, you know, if they want to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, we follow government guidelines. So it's not something I have to say, but that is what we have been doing. So we've still been encouraging people to work from home. But again, it's just that thing. If you do need to come in for whatever reason, know that you'll be okay in this office if you want to be here. And I think that's a hopefully a good message for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so 6 months ago, and I can't believe it's actually been 6 months since we did a podcast, didn't we, when everyone started working remotely. And you talked about the measures that you wanted to put in place, or you had put in place, to keep the company culture alive when people were working from home, because completely different change of scenery. So what I'm really interested to know is, which of these did you feel worked well, and was there any of the measures that you put in place that actually didn't work?
Sure. So first off, the birth of the podcast.
The birth of the podcast.
It was a very exciting time.
Yeah, because we started like all guns blazing, and then everyone went kind of offline, but we had to do that.
I know, and we've kept it going, and people have been really enjoying it, so this is awesome. I mean, that's the thing. We had a number of great initiatives, and I think the brilliant thing is that we started thinking about it, not early, because we probably started thinking about it around a similar time to everyone else, but we tried to get prepared. So there were quite a number of things that I think we had at the beginning which were good, and things that we've carried on doing. So I think some of the things we talked about, which have continued, are our Friday 4pm drinks. Still a thing.
Classic.
Still happens. We still have a Zoom call every Friday. And so it's still a good opportunity for people to get together and see how each other's weeks have been. We're a bit more creative as well with how we have those meetings. So there's always a theme to it. I think some people probably think, oh God, the theme again. But it's sort of necessary to try and keep that alive. So we're going to continue with it. Also, we've got a lunch club as well. That's continued in an online format. I think the lunch club is sort of, I don't know if it's been mixed in terms of good and bad. I think it's good. But one of the key things for me is, because I'm online a lot of the day and having calls with people, sometimes my lunchtime is a time where I actually don't want to be online. But I think the people that have been doing Lunch Club have either really good conversations, or they've done a game or something to try and keep some kind of stimulation going throughout the thing, rather than everyone sitting and staring at each other eating sandwiches.
So is that a thing that you do every day?
That's usually once a month, and the company will basically pay for everyone to have lunch if you want to join Lunch Club. Yeah, it's a good opportunity for people to get together if they want to. We were doing it in restaurants before. Now we're just doing it at home. So that's pretty cool. We have been encouraging people to send in photos of themselves at home, their setups and stuff like that on Slack. So again, it's still trying to keep that conversation going. The birthday treat still happening, which is great. I think mine was right at the very beginning. I had cheese.
Didn't you have cheese and charcuterie or something?
I did. It was a good day.
Yeah, I remember we talked about charcuterie, because I really like that word.
Yeah.
It's a nice roll off the tongue.
Charcuterie. Yeah, it was a wonderful day, that. But yeah, I think everyone's been still getting their stuff, which is really cool. So those commitments have not gone anywhere. Quarterly review again, budget, those sorts of things. Got board game night still happening. And I decided I was going to set up a bit of a project. So I wanted to do some new employer brand videos, which we talked about on a previous podcast, where I wanted to do 6 videos. And I thought actually doing something that got everyone to get involved would give like a fun focus, you know, something fun to do that wasn't just the normal work stuff.
Yeah, explain a bit about what these entail, because they're really cool.
Yes, so I'm planning on rolling out 6 employer brand videos. They'll only be out a minute each, which is quite cool. Just sort of digestible enough, I think, for people to see what it's like to work at Bright. What I wanted to do is to create the illusion of it being a very boring talking heads video, but actually it isn't. I've been working with some comedy writers, so I want to make sure that, you know, each of the videos, it just covers each of the job roles or functions that we have in the company, sort of from developers, marketers, customer success managers. So we've got a bit of a spectrum. So if you are looking to apply for a role here at Bright, you can see what it's like to work here, but also see the personality of the people that work here too.
And actually you're filming from their homes, aren't you?
Yeah, so that's the plan. So we've put things on hold just briefly, because Luke, who we interviewed for, he's just had a baby, so he's
congratulations
Luke. So he's on paternity leave at the moment. Once he's back, we're going to be continuing with that. It's an exciting thing to be doing, but I think we're going to work out if we can film from people's homes, just trying to work out again with him all the logistics of that and making sure people are safe. But he's very well versed, and we've got a lot of stuff in terms of PPE, working out how many people can be close to each other, not close to each other. So we're putting every single step in place to make sure that fundamentally people feel safe and are happy to do it. If they didn't, then I wouldn't do the videos. So yeah, so there are loads of things that we've done which I think have been great that we've continued with. There are some things that probably at the beginning we thought would continue, and I think we put a lot of things in place. So I think some of them were bound to drop off. We put together a lot of Slack channels. A lot. Different ones, working from home, people with children, breakfast, all these different things. I think we just put too many together. And eventually just no one was joining anything. So we decided to cull a load of those. We already got enough Slack channels anyway. People communicate work quite well. So yeah, we removed that, and I think we still have a random channel that I think people will talk in. Some of the other areas that we found challenging, which I'm assuming that everybody across the country or world actually is feeling, is it's really so hard sometimes to try and keep these initiatives going when your motivation yourself isn't particularly high. You have to rely on each other to try and get yourself through. I think company culture it's a team effort, it's a whole company effort, so it requires everybody to get involved. It was tough sometimes because we do have responsibilities. So, you know, the 4pm drinks, we have a theme, someone has to come up with that theme, and so you have to try and get yourself out of the funk and then back into the positive headspace. But luckily, I work with some great people that we can bounce ideas off each other, and I think that's been really valuable. So yeah, I think that was one of the big things actually, was just trying to keep that motivation when sometimes you're feeling a little bit down.
I think you're right. Everyone's probably feeling like that, you know, whether they're working in a company on their own, or, you know, everything's changed, and you need other people to bring you up sometimes, don't you?
Exactly. You're conscious you want to keep it all going. You do feel a sense of responsibility yourself to make sure that people are having a good time, but you don't have power over that. That's not possible.
Caroline, our head of people,
yes,
she's a great support, and she obviously is working with you on that company culture piece as well, and making sure everyone's happy. And I know that there was a plan to onboard from afar, and you've actually recruited quite a few new people, haven't you, over the last 6 months?
Yeah.
So how do you feel that the measures that you put in place to give them a sense of the company culture, how's that worked so far?
Actually, it's worked really well. So yeah, we had 3 people in total over the past 6 months, which is amazing. I say we've successfully onboarded 3 people, but yeah, we've hired 2. So 2 permanent people and 1 contractor. The contractor was actually the first person that we sort of brought on, and that was a sort of a temporary fixed contract role in our Dash team, which is our other product, to work in their marketing function. That contract came to an end, and then we realised that we needed somebody permanent. So that was really exciting. So we've really recently hired Barney. So hello, Barney. He's
hello,
just joined. As of,
you'll be joining us soon on this podcast.
He doesn't realise, but he will. Yeah, so he's joined actually funny this week. And then we've also hired Sean. So hello to Sean. He's one of our new customer success managers as well. I think the process, from what I can see, has gone really well. People seem to be handling it okay. I know that Caroline puts a lot of work in behind the scenes to make it a smooth sort of transition, even through sort of the interview process. So some of the things that we've done to, I suppose, you know, ease them in and adjust them to working at Bright. The first one is be friendly. And it's really obvious. It's a really obvious
Give him a shout out on the podcast.
Say hello, exactly. and the great thing, when we use Slack, and it's difficult, obviously we're not visible. So the first thing is Caroline does a welcome to the new person, and everybody says hello on Slack, which is great. We have a meeting set up as well for that person with each different team, so they can learn a little bit more about what they do. So I've got one set up with Barney this week to talk about.
Are they video calls?
They are video calls, yeah. So Barney's not even based in Brighton, he's in South West London, I think. So he's not local to here, but I think he's planning to potentially pop by at some point. But yeah, we'll do a Zoom call with him at some point this week. So again, they attend all of our company-wide meetings, and that's the same for contract as well. But, you know, if you're freelance or contract, if you're working on a specific project, it's good for you to still feel part of our culture. So we like you to attend meetings, or ones that you need to attend anyway. And stand-ups. So particularly in the development team, we have stand-ups, and also the customer success team have stand-ups as well. So Sean will be in those too. So yeah, that's a couple of things that we tend to do. And I know also, because we've actually updated our onboarding process and documentation recently to include sort of more information about our culture, and Caroline's been quite heavily involved in this, and we've done this because you have to be mindful of the conversations that you're used to having in and across the office or in the kitchen, and that's generally how a lot of information gets communicated here, is over cups of tea or people overhearing things. So we've updated stuff with our values, we have a governance structure here, so how that works, our approach to leadership, and our team principles, so we can give people an insight into how we work. So I think that's been really important, and Caroline's been working tirelessly to make sure those things happen. But that notion of, don't forget that the conversations that you have in the kitchen, or, you know, the water cooler stuff, we don't have a water cooler, we have a tap, but, you know, those conversations are important. And so when you're thinking about how you communicate,
yeah, and also I suppose when you start, you might kind of have a buddy or somebody that you feel comfortable to just ask those questions that you might just not want to ask your line manager. And you know, how does this work, or what's the relationship between these people, these departments? And actually, you know, that's all important, because we're just people at the end of the day, and that's like a natural thing to want to know when you join a company. Yeah,
all the small stuff. Yeah. You know, it's important.
Gossip.
All the gossip, the queen of the gossip. So generally just come to me. But yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Actually, we do arrange buddies as well for people sometimes. So I'm not quite sure in the process whether that's happened this time. I'm assuming it probably has. But generally, Caroline has a very clear plan of how we're going to do it, and I'm really hoping that Sean and Barney are, I don't know, enjoying the onboarding process. And yeah, we'll look forward to catching up with them soon. Haven't spoken to them for a bit.
So the subject of trust came up quite a few times when we spoke about having an entirely remote workforce, and this was 6 months ago. And I know it's something that Caroline's really keen to promote throughout the company. So do you think this period of time working remotely has strengthened that trust within the teams?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt in how committed that people are to each other and the company. We've always been really trusting. I think that's even before all of this happened. I mean, we did a talk a while ago at Wide Sussex. We were talking about remote working. We had a guy who we worked with, Patrick, who worked in Sri Lanka for 9 months. You know, we trusted that he would go there and do his job, and he did. And why wouldn't we trust him to do that? That's the sort of position that we come from. But I do think people were originally thinking, let me make sure everyone knows where I am all the time, so they don't think that I'm not doing anything. But I think that's slackened slightly, but people are still very keen to make sure that they update their Slack with what they're up to, you know, if they're in a meeting, if they're on a call, if they just don't disturb me for a bit, or I'm picking the kids up or whatever. We trust people to do the hours that they're supposed to do, and that's been working really well. So at the moment, I don't think we could be more grateful for the commitment that everyone at Bright has shown.
And I think also people are grateful to, in some ways, to be able to work from home, because that's what a lot of people do want to do generally, and that happened before COVID as well. Yeah, like no one wants to take the piss, because everyone realises that this is what needs to happen, and actually when it comes to coming back to the office, maybe there will be a more flexible way that people can work from home, and this has proven that it does work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely going to be the case, and I know that Caroline's working on that at the moment, you know, and how we're going to make that happen for people. I think we just want to encourage it more. Obviously, we want people to come back, but we also need to make sure that if we're finding that people are working very successfully with this balance, then why should we upset the apple cart, if you know what I mean? People have been great, you know, from that communication level. They've been clear about their workloads as well and when they need support, and I think that's been very important too, because again, when you're not that visible, sometimes you can see people in the office are stressed. You might not be able to see if they're remote that they are
stressed.
Remotely stressed.
Yeah, it's a massive thing though, isn't it? Someone could just go quiet and you just assume they're busy.
Yeah, well, they're the people that you need to really keep an eye out for. So the people that are normally very chatty, I think we've said this before, they're the people that you just need to be mindful and maybe check in with and see how they are. But like I say, we couldn't be more grateful for the commitment that everyone's shown over this sort of time period. And in general, they're always really committed. So thank you, everyone.
So if you had the blessing of knowing what you do now 6 months ago, this is a big, juicy question.
Such a good question.
What would you have done differently?
We could have planned a little bit more about running online meetings differently. Obviously, we probably did know at the time we'd be doing a lot of them, but you don't consider how many you're going to do. So there's been something that I've definitely learned, which is running online meetings, certainly with group meetings, you need a compere, not just a facilitator, but you need someone who's going to bring the energy and rally the group together. I think that's incredibly important. I've become lazy over Zoom calls over the past 7 months, where sometimes you feel like you just want to be entertained. I'm looking at a TV screen, so, you know, I'm not necessarily going to input anything. Not all the time, but there are days where you don't really feel like it. So you need someone there to bring that group together. So I think that's really important. Maybe if we learned that earlier on, maybe some of the meetings were a bit more high energy. I think we've got it now, so that's good. But I don't know if we would have done much differently, apart from maybe some of the communication. I think we're constantly improving the way that we communicate across the business. There's a lot of stuff about things being timely, you know, short, timely, and I think we've done well in certain aspects, but I think that's something we'll continue to improve anyway. So communication is good. I think we've over-communicated sometimes, and maybe not the right stuff. So we've over-communicated, but not all of the things, maybe not the important bits of the message. It's difficult. I just think that this communication is just a constantly evolving thing. So I think that's probably something.
And it's always the challenge whether you're in the office or out the office, isn't it? The right communication, because you're just a load of people working together.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think when we have communicated, if we haven't communicated that well, that people have given us feedback about that. And I know that feedback has been taken on board. So I think, if anything, that's a positive that will have come out of it.
Yeah, and we're not going to get it right every time.
Oh, no,
you know,
no, exactly.
Especially with something that was so sudden, there's always going to be trial and errors. So now that we know there is a chance that we'll obviously be working from home longer and possibly much longer, things obviously are adapting. So what are your plans for keeping the company culture alive over the next 6 months?
Another 6 months. No, it'll be fine. So one of my first ones actually is, I think, quite a cool one, and this whole idea of surprise and delight. I was quite aware during the summer that people obviously working from home, they'd moved into their little office spaces, often near windows, but during the summer it's lovely. It's very warm out there. When it starts to get to autumn, winter, it starts getting a little bit colder.
Especially in Brighton.
Yes, when everyone has quite thin windows. Do you mean no one's double glazed?
Shivering away.
Yeah, so I had this idea about putting together a sort of working from home kit to show our appreciation, to make it a little bit more comfortable for people working from home, you know, who might be working near a window. Obviously, they've probably got the heating on, but still. And we want just, to show that appreciation and give them a cool box of stuff. So that's something that I've been putting together. So that's got a hoodie in it, it's got a little candle in it, it's got a blanket, some sticky notes, it's got a little desk organiser, some hot chocolate to keep them warm, and some biscuits, I think. So it's a nice little branded little kit, and I thought that would be quite a nice thing for us to do. So that's just I say in terms of a company culture, it's not a big thing, but I think it's definitely it's a gratitude thing, and I think that's a good thing to do. We are going to be looking at refreshing our regular meeting formats. So, obviously the Friday 4 o'clock drinks, we keep trying to mix that up, but I think we need to do other things as well, quarterly reviews. We're trying new technology, polls and things like that during presentations so that people can interact a bit more, and they've gone down really well. So we need to constantly keep evolving the way that we manage those and research better ways of doing them. We want to sort of, I think, encourage people to call out and give people a shout out when they've been supported, and praise other people a bit more. When you are working from home, and I've definitely found this, sometimes a little bit of acknowledgement and praise goes a really, really long way. Whether that's from your colleagues or whether that's from the leadership team, where they've noticed some outstanding work that you've done and said to everyone that you've done it, and really specifically about something that you've done. I think that's a very important thing. So I think we need to do more of that. We've got better, but we could do much better. The other thing as well, this is a massive topic at the moment, is Christmas.
Well, yeah, what is going to happen, Vic?
So, well,
I'd like to know.
I really wish that we could all be together for Christmas and have a banging Christmas party, because we do really good Christmas parties here. I've still got that in my head, but I sort of know that might not be the case. So I am currently working with a small team of elves.
Are you Santa?
No, it's very dainty, fairy. But yeah, we're working together to sort of look at what we can do, cool initiatives that we can run over Christmas. I'm hoping to bring back Britain's Next Top Christmas Sandwich. It's going to happen. So I'll be doing voting and judging on those sorts of things. But we are making a commitment as a business, essentially. We want people to know there's a commitment to making sure that Christmas in some form will happen.
And it's not cancelled.
It's not cancelled. So yeah,
Christmas
suck it, Alan Rickman. It's not cancelled. It's here. So we will be doing some cool stuff, and we are working on it. It's important. People have been working hard all year. You can't just forget about it. It's a thing, and we want to celebrate it. So we're going to find a way, and whatever that means, if it will be government guidelined, abiding, all that sort of thing, but it'll be good. And then I think crucially, as a final thing, looking back over the past 6 months, we've seen how things have changed and adapted, and I'm really conscious now that we need to plan for probably another 6 months and potentially beyond. But we need to look at the company culture as it is now. Is the company culture what we think it is? People apply for roles here, they think the company culture sounds great. When they're getting here, we've got Barney, we've got Sean. I want to make sure that we involve them in conversations around the company culture. They've come from other places. They'll have other cool ideas. We need to take on board their ideas and help evolve our company culture to match what's going on currently and for the future. So I think that's the next plan, is a big planning session, hopefully a cool workshop or something to start actually addressing it, looking at it, because you just can't let it lie, and it's not fair to let it lie. It will constantly change.
It will evolve.
It will evolve
grow.
And revolve, as Alan Partridge said. So yeah.
And hopefully we can come back in 6 months and we'll have loads of other stuff to talk about.
I really hope so. If not,
happened.
It's going to be really awkward.
We'll have the Christmas party gossip, remote Christmas party gossip.
Yeah. Well, we've got some cool stuff I'm thinking about for that. I think I definitely know that our business operations team have already loads of ideas of things that we could do. Yeah, so definitely Christmas will not be forgotten.
And let's end there. Thank you so much, Vic, for coming on today.
You're very, very welcome.
Thanks for listening to the Big Bright podcast. Make sure to subscribe to never miss an episode, and check out our website at builtbybright.com.